don't hear voices by God. I don't hear any voices. I don't hear God coming and telling me like some of these guys are claiming. So God comes to me and tells me, says, son, again and again, son, tera beta. My son, is that how God talks to you? I said, what language does he speak to you? I haven't had the chance of asking. What language? He says, son. He didn't call his own son Jesus. Son, he speaks in the third person. At the baptism, if you remember, in the scriptures. So when he was baptized by John the Baptist in the river Jordan, a voice was heard from heaven saying, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. He's not talking to Jesus, that you are my son and I'm well pleased with you. No. He's telling the other people that this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. He never spoke to Jesus' son, but now to every Tom, Dick and Harry, God is now direct communication. He says, son, so what about this? I have a problem, daddy. But he said, look, I cannot tell you. No, in the writings, I cannot tell you. Why can't he tell you? Doesn't he know the answer? This God of yours? Or is it that you are inept? Something wrong with you? Why doesn't he tell you? He said, I cannot tell you. What do you mean he cannot tell you? No, that is the relationship. They have established a relationship with God. He says, no. So, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, ascension thrown out. But now they put it back. So you read the preface. In the preface they tell us that individuals and 2 church denominations out of the 50, individuals, Bible thumpers, hot gospelers, preachers, evangelists, they, individuals and 2 church denominations, they protested that this thing should be put back. Otherwise, we will tell the people, don't buy this RSV. It is too dangerous. These scholars have done damage to our cause, our faith, our belief. So, therefore, says the revisers in the preface, they say that these, the longer ending of Mark 9 to 20 and Luke chapter 24 verse 51 are now restored to the text. Why? Not because God told them so. This is my book. You have no right to explain anything from my book. You have done it. Put it back. Otherwise I'll put you into hell. And hell is no joke, says Brother Jimmy Swaggart. No joke. And it is no joke. Gains, for money's sake. In the meantime, these revisers, they made a net profit of $15 million on the RSV. $15 million. Before they got caught out by these preachers. Before they could stampede them to restore. $15 million. Big business. The world's bestseller. Of course it is the world's bestseller. The Bible. Good money. Big money. So, these are the pictures of Jesus. The Christian belief is that He is God Almighty. In human form. He is God incarnate. The Muslim says no. God does not incarnate. He doesn't say no, Jesus is not God incarnate, but Muhammad is. Jesus is not the begotten Son of God, but Muhammad is. That Jesus didn't die for people's sins, but Muhammad died. Nothing of the kind. This is a Hindu idea, that God becoming a man. My ancestors, I'm an Indian. Not a red Indian, brown Indian from India. Otherwise we might put you into the reserves. They say, look, we got a reservation for you. So I don't want any reservation. I come from the east, really east. My ancestors were Hindus. I'm a new Muslim from the point of view that 200 to 400 years ago, my ancestors became Muslim. But before becoming Muslims, we were worshipping Rama as the 7th incarnation of God. We worshipped Krishna as the 8th incarnation of God. We worshipped Buddha as the 9th incarnation of God. And we believed in endless incarnations. Because my ancestors, very clever people, they reasoned. And the reasoning was very good. They said that God Almighty, He's so pure, He's so holy. He's absolute holiness, like a holy robo. What does the holy robo know? How I feel when I see a beautiful young thing, even at the age of 69. What does he know? How I feel. Does he feel the way I feel? Probably not. Then what right has he to tell me, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife? What does he know what is to covet? So to be qualified, said my ancestors, that God Almighty comes down to earth. To experience this life. To know what He's talking about. His Holiness the Pope. His Holiness the Pope made his pronouncement on the pill. Birth control. you know that they are not to use pills, birth control, but you must use the natural cycle, you know, fertile period, infertile period. That is valid, not the pill. So when he made that pronouncement, some cynic remarked that the guy who doesn't play the game, what right has he to lay down the rules? Does the Pope play the games we play? Does he? Does he? No. So what right has he to tell us about fertile and infertile period? What does he know how I feel when my need arises? Similarly, my Hindu ancestors reasoned. They said, look, God Almighty, to be qualified, he must come down to earth. And the same God keeps on coming into the world. Again and again. It's the same God. There's only one God. Rama is that God. The same God came as Krishna. The same came as Buddha. The same came as Kalanka Avatar. The same came as Mahatma Gandhi, and on and on. They are prepared to believe in endless incarnations. Now, the logic is good. The Christian, he will reject this idea. He says, before Jesus, God did not incarnate. After Jesus, he will not incarnate. He is the only incarnation. Only time that God came into the world, he came as Jesus Christ. Not before, not after. The Muslim says that God does not incarnate at all. He doesn't become man. What he does is, he chooses a man from among men, one of us, flesh and blood in all respects. But that person is so finely attuned, is so sincere to God, that whatever God commands him on a higher spiritual level, what we call revelation, they are like the electromagnetic waves of the spiritual world. God Almighty communicates with them on that level, and they in turn reproduce those messages on our level, sound wave, 600 miles an hour. We call such people prophets of God. They are the mouthpiece of God. They are speaking the words of God, but they are not gods. Similarly, we say that is Jesus, Moses, David, Solomon, Muhammad. They are all the mouthpieces of God. As such, we say love them, respect them, revere them, follow them, but worship none of them. Worship the one and only God that there is, the Father in heaven. He is the only God. Call him Allah, call him Jehovah, call him what you like, as long as the term that you use is not contaminated. That's all. Use any name for him, says the Quran. Call him Rahman, call him Rahim, call him by any name. But we say, as long as that name is not contaminated. For example, if I were to tell you, my brothers and sisters, that the name of God Almighty in Islam is Muhammad. As soon as I say Muhammad, you're thinking of an Arab, a camel driver. No? Yes. If I say the name of God Almighty is Krishna, you think of an Aryan in India, a Hindu. As soon as you say his name is Jesus Christ, you think of a Jew born in the stable to a Jewish girl called Mary, circumcised on the 8th day. That's a picture. So any name that conjures up a mental picture of the divinity, God Almighty, is taboo. Don't use such words for God, but call him by any name as long as the name is not contaminated. And that name is not Jesus. It's not Muhammad. It's not Rama. It's not Krishna. Call him Allah. Call him Jehovah. Call him whatever else you will. But don't use these terms for God. So this is the point of real difference between the Muslim and the Christian. The Christian says he's God. He's either a liar, a lunatic, or Lord. I say he's neither a liar, nor a lunatic, nor the Lord. He is what he claimed. He claimed to be the Messiah. He claimed to guide you people, to guide us, to guide his people from formalism, from ceremonialism into righteousness. The whole truth. He came to give them the truth. He showed them the truth. He said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. That is for his people. If you want another way, God will not accept it. In the time of Moses, the Jews chose another way, through the golden calf. As a result of that, God said, kill the people. The Jews, the Bani Israel, they were told, kill one another. And they killed 24,000 Jews for worshipping the golden calf. He said, I don't want it. They didn't say the calf is God. They said, we want to worship God through it.